Okay, welcome to this episode of the Freedom to Draw Unsolved Mysteries. I am the president of the Freedom to Draw Caricatures Party. My name is John, and you're looking at last time's video was the disappearance of Felicia Thomas. We're going to recap you. November is Missing Persons Month on the show. We got Felicia Thomas here. We got Michelle Jolene Lakey. All these episodes are titled Joey Lynn Alphont. You can check them out on my channel on YouTube. Just look for the person that you are interested in. They are all titled. Olivia Kale is this one here. Rihanna Cooper Rosendo. These are all people that disappeared and are missing. Cindy Song. Tanya Lynn Sadecki. Courtney Stauffer. Tracy Crow. Tyler Shoebrooks. This is Wayne Mallory Sr. Jesse Farber. Tony Lee Sharpless. And our first episode was Ray Ricard. And like always, if you have any information on these people and their whereabouts, please contact this information right here. Alright, we're going to get into it now. Today's episode is the bizarre disappearance of Dale Kersetter. This Pennsylvania resident was from Bradford, Pennsylvania, and we're going to draw him, and we're going to tell you a little bit about his story. Was Dale Kersetter a victim of a robbery or an accomplice to the crime? It was around 10:30 at night when Dale Kersetter left his Bradford, Pennsylvania house on Saturday, September 12th, 1987. He climbed into his red Jeep pickup truck and made the 10-mile drive from his home to the Corning Glassworks plant, where he had worked for 29 years as a maintenance man. And a weekend security guard at the same plant. As usual, he arrived a few minutes early for his 11 p.m. shift. He chatted briefly with the second shift security guard, Art Patterson, then settled in for the overnight shift. All the other employees had left the building, leaving Dale alone in the 112,000 square foot factory alone. Dale divided his time between sitting in the factory security office and walking a set route around the building to make sure everything was secure. Shortly around 7 a.m. on a Sunday, first shift security guard John Lindquist arrived to relieve Dale. John expected to find his overnight counterpart sitting in the security office as usual, and somewhat surprised when Dale wasn't there, he poked his head into the cafeteria to see if Dale was in there, but the large room was empty. As John scanned the cafeteria, he saw that Dale's lunch pail was sitting on a nearby table. Next to his lunch pail, he found a newspaper, a pack of cigarettes, and Dale's keys to the plant. Dale would normally carry his keys with him on his person. Dale would so John was surprised to see this sitting on the table, the keys. He then opened up Dale's lunch pail and saw that none of the food had appeared to have been touched. John wasn't sure what to think. He knew that Dale was still at work because he had seen his new red Jeep in the parking lot when he arrived. Worried that something might have happened to him, he did a quick walkthrough of the entire plant, but found no Dale. John uneasily started his shift, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Dale was a dependable employee who wouldn't have never abandoned his post. As additional employees arrived for the morning shift, they conducted a more thorough search of the building and were certain that Dale was not going to be found inside the plant. Unsure exactly what they were dealing with, employees called the Pennsylvania State Police to report Dale missing. Several state troopers were dispatched to the plant where they examined Dale's Jeep. They discovered that the keys were in the ignition. Dale would normally leave them there, and this suggested to police that he intended on returning to the vehicle. They also found a full carton of cigarettes in the truck, another indication that Dale had intended to disappear. He was a chain smoker who never went anywhere without his cigarettes. Dale normally kept a .22 caliber pistol in his Jeep. He and a friend would often drive through Allegheny National Forest, where they would occasionally shoot small game. Since this was the only thing he used the pistol for, Dale always left it in his vehicle. When police searched his Jeep, however, they found only an empty holster. The gun was gone. In an effort to locate the missing male, Pennsylvania State Troopers brought in a canine unit. A tracking dog started at Dale's Jeep and was able to track his scent into the building. Once inside, the dog followed a circuitous route around the factory, likely the path Dale had taken when he made his security rounds. Then, however, the dog led his handler up to the second floor plant and into a room where a large glass kiln was housed. The particular kiln, which was used to manufacture glass rods for use in electrical resistors, was not normally included on Dale's security rounds. A recent recession had reduced the demand for the glass rods it produced. Because of this, the kiln was only fired up a few times a year and had not been in use at the time Dale went missing. So the dog is basically leading them into a different course of what normally Dale's rounds would have been. Police conducted a comprehensive search of the factory and were confident that Dale was not inside. The search for the missing man was explained to include a wooded area surrounding the plant as well as nearby Tuna Creek. Tracking dogs were unable to pick up his scent in any of these locations. It wasn't until a couple of days after Dale disappeared that a personal manager arrived at the plant and assessed the security footage from Dale's final shift. He hoped that it might provide some clues as to what had happened to Dale, but what he found ended up making the case much more complicated. So this case just keeps getting stranger and stranger by the minute. The Corning Glassworks plant had 4 security cameras. Each one filmed a different area in the plant. The resulting security footage could be somewhat hard to follow, as it constantly cycles between the 4 cameras, changing views every few seconds. Still, it was enough to provide police with a glimpse of what had gone on inside the plant on Saturday night. Shortly after 11 p.m., a masked man could be seen inside the plant. As he made his way towards the security office, he crossed paths with Dale. The camera showed the 2 men appearing to have a conversation. Since no audio was recorded, it is impossible to tell what was said. A few seconds later, Dale is seen walking directly towards one of the security cameras with this masked intruder directly behind him. One of the man's arms was hidden from the view, so it is unclear if he was holding a weapon against Dale's back or simply guiding him. As the 2 men passed underneath the camera, Dale looked up at it and appeared to stare directly into the lens. It would be the last time Dale was ever seen on any camera. A few minutes later, the intruder was seen in the second-floor room where the large glass kiln was located. After rummaging around for a few minutes, he appeared to remove something from inside the tank of the kiln. The masked man was later captured by one of the first-floor cameras. He was seen taking a small manual forklift or pallet jack into a side room. He then reappeared. He had loaded a bag onto the pallet jack and could be seen dragging it along behind him. He then presumably left the building. What was in the bag? Wonder what was in the bag. This guy does not look like a criminal to me, though, actually. He just looks like a country bumpkin. Officials were stunned by the footage and quickly realized that the crime had taken place. When they checked the large kiln, they discovered that the thief had used a hacksaw to remove some of the platinum tubing inside. A total of 11,000 grams, around 24 pounds, had been stolen at the time. This would have been worth $220,000. Security tape was sent to the FBI in the hopes that they would be able to enhance the quality of the footage, but they were unable to do anything with the blurry video. The masked man remained unidentified. Remember, this is 87, guys. They couldn't really do much with video camera enhancements back then. In the initial newspaper articles about the crime, police assured the public that Dale was not considered a suspect in the heist. He remained simply a missing person. Officials with the Corning Glassworks didn't agree, though. They argued that it was possible Dale had been a willing accomplice in the platinum theft. Dale's family abandons this idea and say he would never voluntarily participate in such an act. He had strong ties to the community and no criminal record. Dale, who had lived in Bradford area his entire life, had been working for the Corning plant for almost 30 years. The only time he had ever left the area was when he served in the Air Force as a young man. The father of 6 had been divorced for nearly a decade. His teenage son lived with him, and 4 of his 5 daughters lived nearby. He was a proud grandfather of 2 and had never expressed any discontent with his lot in life. His kids describe him as being a great father and a compassionate person who was known for his honesty. He wasn't the kind of person who would simply walk away from his family, home, job, and pension. So the question remains, was Dale involved in this crime? Really looks like just a normal old country bumpkin man. The question of what happened to Dale has never been answered. His children attempted to have him declared legally dead in 1990. They believed that he had been killed the night of the robbery. Attorney James Bryant, who represented Dale's children, remarked that he had seen many men who had left their wives before, but none of them had ever left their deer hunting rifles. All of Dale's guns, along with everything else he owned, had been left behind when he vanished. And it's still a mystery to this day, folks. What happened to this man? Attorneys for the Corning Glass Works argued the chance Dale had been an accomplice to the platinum theft was at least as great as a chance that he had been killed. Because of this, they refused to release his pension or his insurance money to his children. In the end, the Pennsylvania Superior Court sided with the Corning Glass Works Company. The facts surrounding Dale's disappearance were simply too confusing for them to conclude that he had been killed. This didn't mean that the court believed Dale had participated in the robbery, just that they had no proof that he was dead. Based on the scant evidence available, there was no way they would definitely say he had been a victim of a crime. The debate about Dale's fate has continued even to this day. The statute of limitations on the platinum theft expired years ago. If Dale were involved, there is no legal ramifications that would explain for him being missing. It's possible that he simply took off for parts unknown and has managed to stay under the radar, though it seems unlikely that he would go so long without contacting any of his family members. Those who believe Dale was the victim of a crime point out that the masked intruder was seen dragging a heavy bag on the night Dale went missing. Even police admit that it's possible Dale's body was in the bag. It's also possible that the bag could have contained the stolen metal. But would a grown man really need a pallet jack to carry away 24 pounds of platinum? So that's it. It's still a mystery to this day. I'm probably of the thought that he got killed. It just doesn't look like a guy that would plot out a crime like this. Looks just like he kind of looks like a victim to me. Anyway, guys, this is pretty much halfway finished product here. We will let you see the finished product on the next episode of the Freedom to Draw Unsolved Mysteries. Until then, guys, keep on being true believers. Peace out.